Hello, FPL managers. It's Josh here from FPL Hawley. It is silly season in FPL, and I'm feeling particularly festive in today's video. What isn't very Christmassy is the fact that Game Week 17 brought my first red arrow in 7 game weeks. I scored 67 points, and I got a 50k rank drop to around 82k overall. I made a sideways transfer that now looks really silly in hindsight, and I'll go into more detail on that in a minute. Today, I'm breaking down my Game Week 17 performance, 3 crucial lessons, including why Ekitike might be the must-have striker for the next 2 game weeks, the Bruno injury bombshell that's rocked the FPL community, and my complete strategy for navigating this crucial Christmas period. Let's dive in. Alrighty, game week 17, I scored 67 points, which was 1 point above the average, and it's my first red arrow in 7 or 8 game weeks. Now look, I really can't complain. A red arrow was always due around this time, especially with so many managers playing their triple captain chip on Haaland at home to West Ham. So this time Haaland delivered 16 points for those that did triple captain him, which actually is the exact same haul as when I triple captained him back in game week 6 against Burnley at home. So to be honest, it's net for me, really. But that 50k red arrow does sting, as I've dropped from somewhere around 30k down to 82k overall. So I'm still inside the top 100k at this stage of the season, which I am genuinely pleased with. The frustrating part for me was actually the transfer I made, and I try and focus more on what's in my control. So I got swept up and jumped on the Harry Wilson bandwagon, which, let's be honest, was just always going to happen. I think someone commented on my video when I was hyping him up saying he was due a blank. So I did a sideways move from Josh King at Fulham and I upgraded him to Wilson because I had the exact money. So the logic was sound at the time. What pushed me to make this move was that when Thiago was flagged and he missed Brentford's midweek Carabao Cup fixture. So Keith Andrew had mentioned that Thiago had a couple of knocks, which made me nervous. So I thought I was being really clever having Wilson come in. And then if Thiago missed out, I would have Raul coming off my bench. So in classic FPL, not only did Thiago play and blank, but Wilson also played and blanked. And I think now Wilson's actually even picked up a knock himself. Meanwhile, obviously, Raul sat on my bench, scored a penalty for 5 points. So it's only a 3-point difference. It could have been much worse, but it is just one of those game weeks where you have to suck it up. I've had a really good ride until now, so I really can't complain. I do want to focus on some of the positives, though, because there definitely were some. I picked the right captain. That's always a win. Haaland at home to West Ham delivered 16 points, which gave me 32 with the armband. But again, the impact was negligible because so many people triple captained him, but at least I didn't back against him. My double Arsenal defence also came up trumps. 13 points from Timber and Raya, which was really great to see. And there was actually a very slight win that I'll take here. So Timber was on 7 points at full time, which would have, and Raya had 6. But that bonus point was actually taken away from Timber and given to Raya instead. It's a tiny win, but I would assume that Timber's ownership is much higher than Raya. So me getting an extra point might be a differential. Am I clutching at straws? I'll let you guys decide. And then in terms of the disappointments, I had 7 blanking players. Bruno went off injured at half-time, which I'll talk about more in a minute. But yeah, 7 blankers out of 11 is really not good. And Raul scoring being left on my bench. But anyway, how many points did you score in Game Week 17? Let me know in the comments below. And more importantly, are you still holding Bruno or have you already pulled the trigger? We'll talk about that more a little bit later. So 3 things that we learned in Game Week 17. And this is really shaping my decisions for the Christmas period. So first up, is Hugo Ekitike now a must-have for at least game weeks 18 and 19, and possibly even longer? So Ekitike is in absolutely red-hot form. He has 5 goals in his last 3 games. Liverpool have 2 lovely fixtures coming up. They have Wolves at home and then Leeds at home. And here's the kicker. Both Wolves and Leeds concede an average of 2 goals away from home during this period. So you'd have to fancy Ekitike to deliver returns in at least one, if not both of those fixtures, and they could be double-digit hauls. It gets even better as well for Ekitike owners because the big question mark I had against Ekitike was always about his expected minutes and how he would either rotate or play with Alexander Isak. That question has been answered in the worst possible way for Isak, unfortunately, but the best possible way for Ekitike owners. So Isak, unfortunately, is now out for months with a confirmed leg fracture that he sustained against Tottenham and had to actually have operated on. So this means that Ekitike is going to be the main man leading that line for the foreseeable future. Now, if you throw in the fact that both Salah is off at AFCON, Szoboszlai is suspended for at least game week 18, so those were the two potential penalty takers, and Gakpo is injured as well. You'd have to think Ekitike will probably be on penalties. Now, all of these things point to Ekitike being as close to a must-have as you can for game weeks 18 and 19. I've moved early and I've already brought Ekitike in, and I actually leveraged the Bruno injury to make that happen. I'll go into more detail on that in a bit. The second key learning for me is, are Crystal Palace now a team to target rather than one to avoid? So earlier this season, when Palace were absolutely flying, having triple Palace seemed like the way to go. I did very well having a double Palace defence, and Daniel Munoz was usually the difference for me between a red and a green arrow each week. But Palace's small squad and the number of competitions they're competing in is really catching up with them. Crystal Palace were hammered 4-1 away at Leeds in game week 17, and they looked absolutely exhausted. They actually conceded 2.7 expected goals, which was the highest of the game week, and they conceded 4 goals. But the interesting thing is that they actually still created the second highest XG at 1.57, just behind Arsenal. So they still have that attacking threat, they just lack that quality up front. And as a former Mateta owner myself, I know how very frustrating it can be to hold Mateta. And I did wonder if Eddie Nketiah, who's a bit more clinical, would improve this expected goals to actual goals ratio, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Now, this is something to keep an eye on. It is a small sample size, one game week, everyone can have a blip, but Palace have another fixture tonight, and they're playing Arsenal in the Carabao Cup quarter-final, and they still have, I think it's maybe 7 fixtures between now and early January. Oliver Glasner, their manager, has been crying out for reinforcements. Palace absolutely have to bring in some players to bolster that squad in the January transfer window. Third and finally is a quick suspension and injury update, because this is critical for planning during this very busy festive season. Now, Dominic Szoboszlai is now suspended for Liverpool's really great fixture at home to Wolves in game week 18. That must be so frustrating for Szoboszlai owners who either held him through an injury or brought him in. He had that injury scare with his ankle, he then came back, and then he went and got himself booked. A cynic would say he's now got Christmas off, and it is only for one game. So he'll be back in their home fixture against Leeds in game week 19, but obviously Szoboszlai not a buy right now, he's an avoid. And then there's the big one, which is Bruno Fernandes is now out for a while with a hamstring injury. I'll talk more about that a bit later. And then, as already mentioned, Isak has a fractured leg and he'll be out for months. So those are 2 massive injuries that are rocking the FPL community right now. So a very quick reminder that we only have 2 more game weeks until the first half of the season is over, and it has absolutely flown by. So between game weeks 17 and 18, the only football being played is that Arsenal versus Crystal Palace Carabao Cup quarter-final on Tuesday night, which is this December the 23rd at 8 p.m. UK time. Now, given Palace's crazy fixture congestion and that 4-1 thumping at Leeds on Saturday, I'd expect some heavy rotation from Palace. They look exhausted and very much in need of player reinforcements in January. Now, I've had a few questions from managers who still have chips left to play. Now, if you do have any remaining chips, you must use them in either game week 18 or game week 19, or you will lose them completely. That's really critical. So my original advice was to hold your triple captainship for Bruno Fernandes at home to Wolves in game week 19. Now he's very likely to miss that fixture completely. So if you still have your triple captainship, you could consider Hugo Ekitike at home to either Wolves or Leeds, or you could just stick it on Haaland in one of the upcoming fixtures. I think they have Forest and Sunderland away, and just hope for the best. Haaland doesn't have the best fixtures, but a triple captain on Haaland is honestly a bit of a safe bet regardless. Haaland has shown that he can haul either home or away, but just remember, if you have any remaining chips, you have to use them in the next 2 game weeks. And all managers get a full refresh of chips for the second half of the season. And I'll be doing an update of this slide so we can then plan our second half of the season, and I'll have that ready to go from game week 20 onwards. Okay, so the Bruno Fernandes situation. This is the hot topic in the FPL community now. So let's talk about what we actually know. Ruben Amorim told BBC Sports after the Villa game that Bruno will be out for a while. And he's also said on the Manchester United website that it's a soft tissue injury. So he confirmed that Bruno's definitely out for game week 18 of their Boxing Day fixture at home to Newcastle. Now, even if we conservatively predict he misses 2 to 3 game weeks, which would be quick for a hamstring injury, by the way, that means Bruno would likely miss 4 game weeks. And at his price, that's just too much value tied up, sitting on my bench and falling in price. So I think Bruno is a must sell this week, and I've already made my move early to avoid price swings. So these type of scenarios are very team dependent, but for me, I'm looking for a way to upgrade Raul Jimenez to Ekitike. And although the Bruno injury is frustrating, it actually allows me to upgrade to Ekitike with 2 transfers rather than 3. So for me, because I have the transfers, might be a blessing in disguise. I know a lot of managers moved early with their transfers this game week, so this could be very frustrating. And this Bruno news may force some hits for those who's already used their free transfers. But let me break down for you your options into those 3 categories, depending on your team-dependent situation. So option 1 is for managers who want to make a straight swap at a similar price point. This might be people that need to take a hit or just want to use one transfer. So considering the budget, this is dependent on how much you can sell Bruno for. My preference in order would be Phil Foden, although I already have him, and I imagine a lot of other people do. Then it would be Matheus Cunha at Manchester United. I do wonder what Cunha's output will be like with no Bruno, Mbeumo or Ahmad, but Man United have a really lovely run in game weeks 19 to 21. They have Wolves, Leeds and Burnley. Then a punt on Florian Wirtz at Liverpool for those 2 really nice fixtures in game week 18 and 19 I've already spoken about. Option 2 is if you want to free up around 1.5 million or less. So again, that's dependent on what your selling price for Bruno is. I absolutely love Morgan Rogers right now. He's in the form of his life, but Villa have 2 tough fixtures coming up away at Chelsea and Arsenal. But given Villa's form, they could beat anyone. If you have the money, you could do Wirtz for game weeks 18 and 19 and then move him to Rogers for game weeks 20 when Villa's fixtures improve. And then Declan Rice and Bruno Guimaraes are really reliable performers. But I can't get Rice because I'm already tripled up on Arsenal. And then option 3, which is where I sit, I needed to release 2 million of budget to fund my move for Ekitike. So my favourite options here would be Cherki at 6.6 million if you're not already tripled up on City, unfortunately like I am. Jack Grealish is then my pick, and he's who actually I bought in at 6.5. So the reason I like Grealish is he's got guaranteed minutes, nice fixtures. He's going to be talismanic with Keenan Dewsbury-Hall and Njai away, and he actually has the best underlying data of these budget options that I could consider. Harry Wilson is nice and cheap, but I think you've probably missed his red-hot run, and he's now flagged. So Harry Wilson's probably in a void. But an honourable mention for me goes to Mason Mount of Manchester United. He's really good. He's going to be great for minutes because they've got so many missing players. United have those really nice fixtures from game week 19. And Mount could step up on set pieces and general creativity in Bruno's absence. So Mount could be tempting. And just to confirm, I've already made my moves this week. And as I said, I've done Bruno and Raul Jimenez for Grealish and Ekitike. I've broken all my own rules, but I had the exact money, so I needed to move before the price swings. And I've still got 2 free transfers in the bank, so I could fix my mistakes if they come back to bite me. Which Bruno replacement are you going for? Let me know in the comments below. Alrighty, so my updated player watch list, and a lot of repetition from previous slides, but I won't go too deep. My new additions are mainly in the midfield and forward slot, but for goalkeepers, I would say that the standout option now for me is Sanchez at Chelsea, just 4.9 million. Chelsea's defence is actually getting quite close to being the second. It is the second best, and it's getting quite close to Arsenal's in terms of numbers. And Sanchez now is more than $1 million cheaper than Raya. So you could get on Sanchez around game weeks 24-25 when Chelsea go on an incredible fixture run. So Sanchez is definitely one to watch. Now for budget defenders, Keane at Everton is really nice, enabler, or you could go with Van der Berg at Brentford, who I still really highly rate. Now, in midfield, this is where it gets interesting. I mentioned all 4 of these guys in my previous slide with Bruno alternatives, but I do really like the idea of having Cunha from game week 19 when United start that really nice run of fixtures with Wolves at home. I'll then be looking to get Morgan Rogers in around game week 20 when Villa's fixtures turn. So what I'll probably do over the next couple of game weeks is I'll downgrade Thiago to Obi of Manchester United in game week 19 because he's just 4.2 million. Then I'll play more of a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 formation moving forward. I'll then keep Ekitike and Haaland as my 2 strikers, probably medium to even long term. And then I'll look to upgrade 2 of my midfield positions to probably Cunha and then Rogers. And it'll probably be Harry Wilson and Minte that will make way. Jared Bowen had a very brief appearance on this list, and he's gone again now with the emergence of Ekitike. But if you do want a really cheap enabler playing forward who's in red hot form, Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Leeds is scored, I think he scored 5 and 5 now, and he's just 5.7 million. It might even be 5 and 4 actually. Leeds fixtures do turn. So he's not going to play every week, but he's scoring and he's playing at just 5.7 million. My focus is going to be just 2 strikers for a 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 midfield and look to really bolster my midfield and defence. But I will focus on Haaland and Ekitike as being the foundation of my attack. Now let me walk you through my plans for the next 4 game weeks, because this Christmas period is where engaged managers can really gain ground. So starting with captaincy. Game week 18, I'm really tempted to punt on Ekitike at home to Wolves. Man City have Forest away, which isn't easy, but it's also not particularly difficult. They just lost to Fulham 1-0 last night. But Liverpool have Wolves at home, and I've just put in Ekitike. I'd be very tempted to put the captain's armband on him. It could come back to bite me, but I do like these game weeks where there's a lot of variance in captaincy. Even Saka at home to Brighton could be a good shout, or an Arsenal asset. So these splits in captaincy are really exciting, and they do keep FPL interesting. You've just got to pray that not backing against someone like Haaland goes against you. And then in terms of game week 19, Liverpool have Leeds at home and Manchester United have Wolves at home. So if you do have someone like Matheus Cunha, that could be a great option. Man City play Sunderland away, and that's a tough fixture as well. And again, I see myself potentially punting away from Haaland for the next 2 game weeks, which is scary to consider. But anyway, I'll have more of a think about it near the time. Game week 20 is tough because there's no one standout fixture. I would probably just go back to Haaland in game week 20 as he has Chelsea at home. It's not ideal because Chelsea are defensively strong, but Liverpool are away at Fulham and Arsenal are away at Bournemouth. So no other real standout fixture. Then game week 21, I would then finally go back to Haaland because Man City play Brighton at home. Arsenal and Liverpool play each other, which cancels those options out. And outside bet could be a Man United player, maybe Matheus Cunha again, because they have Burnley away in game week 21. But I need to keep a close eye on Manchester United and how they do without Bruno. In terms of transfers, as mentioned, I've already made my game week 18 transfers early, Fernandes and Jimenez for Grealish and Ekitike. Moving forward, I really like Matheus Cunha at United from game week 19 for that fixture run. Then from game week 20, it would be the inform Morgan Rogers to jump on that Villa bandwagon as well. And then, as mentioned, I would do Thiago down to Obi and Man United to free up some funds, and then I'd move to either a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2 formation moving forward. What are your transfer plans for the Christmas period? Drop your strategy in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're navigating this crucial run of fixtures. And finally, my game week 18 setup. So I have 0 money in the bank, and I've already made 2 of my 4 free transfers. So for the third and final time, I did Bruno Fernandes and Raul Jimenez out for Grealish and Ekitike. I moved early, as I said, which was breaking all my own rules, but I needed to because I exact money for the moves. Generally, I really like the look of my team for this game week. I'm pleased with my defence. I'll back Crystal Palace at home to Spurs, even though I did say Palace aren't looking great at the moment, but Spurs are also not looking great, particularly from an attacking perspective. I'll keep a close eye on the Crystal Palace Arsenal game tonight, but Spurs are actually better away from home this season, so I may look into this more. But at the moment, I'll back the home player and stick with Richards at home to Spurs and hope that Crystal Palace put in a really good defensive display. Of course, I'll be sticking with my double Arsenal defence. Brighton at home is a nice fixture for them, and I'll back O'Reilly away at Forest. I've also got Grealish, who's my new transfer, away at Burnley, which is a really nice entry point, and I'm really hopeful that Grealish will be able to deliver something. And of course, I'll be playing Foden and Saka. Harry Wilson is a headache for me. He continues to troll me because he's now flagged, which is frustrating. So I'll probably just hold him and I'll see if anything comes out, if there are any press conferences around Boxing Day, I think there would be. If he's definitely out, I'll look to move him on. But if he doesn't play, I've always got Minte coming off my bench, who's away at Arsenal, which isn't ideal, but anyway. Then my front 3 looks really good. I really like the look of my new transfer, Ekitike, at home to Wolves. And as I said, at the moment, I have my armband on him. Thiago is at home to defensively leaky Bournemouth. So hopefully Brentford get a penalty because that seems to be the only way that Thiago will get goals. But this is probably Thiago's last run out of my team for a while before I downgrade him and move to a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2. And then Haaland, as I said, is away at Forest. Big call for me is captaincy. I'll need to do more research and make a final call, a final decision near the time. But I do just really like the idea of not just when you bring someone in, you punt on them with captaincy as well. Who are you captaining in game week 18? Are you going Haaland, Ekitike, or somebody else? Let me know in the comments below. So there we have it. Game week 17 reviewed with that 67-point haul and my first red arrow in 7 game weeks. Bruno's injury has forced my hand, but I've turned it into an opportunity to get Ekitike in ahead of 2 fantastic fixtures. If you found this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed to FPL Hawley because I make videos like this every single week. Clear strategy, no panic, just smart FPL made simple. I will do my best to do a deadline stream on Boxing Day before the Game Week 18 deadline, family commitments permitting. If I do, it will be as the usual 1 hour before the Game Week deadline, so starting at 5:30 p.m. UK time. Now, best of luck in Game Week 18, and let's hope Ekitike delivers us some presents at Anfield. And for anyone who celebrates, a Merry Christmas and have a good break.